the LSAT. So my strategy for reading comprehension is pretty straightforward. I don't think it's as difficult a section as most people make it out to be. I think really people get bogged down in the fact that the passages are difficult, but the sections themselves don't have to be. Really, the key to all of them is you don't have to be that good at reading to do well on reading comprehension. And in fact, you don't really need to understand the passage in order to do well on reading comprehension. You just have to be able to answer the questions. And I know that sounds like the same thing, but it's really not. So let me show you what I mean. So for every passage, the first thing that I do is I come up with a very basic idea of what the passage is. Like, I don't want details, I just want the very basic idea. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to read the first and last sentence of each paragraph and see if I can come up with that, like a one-sentence summary of what the passage is about. So let's start with passage 1. So here I've got, in Alaska, tradition is a powerful legal concept, appearing in a wide variety of legal contexts relating to natural resource and public lands activities. Failure to define tradition clearly in written law has given rise to problematic and inconsistent legal results. So tradition is some sort of legal concept in Alaska. Well, I mean, obviously I know what tradition is, and it's not defined well. And if I had to guess, I'd say the rest of this passage is going to be about issues where it's not defined well. Let's see. One of the most prevalent ideas associated with the term tradition in the law is that tradition is based on long-standing practice. Two recent court cases involving indigenous use of sea otter pelts illustrate the problems that can arise in the application of this sense of tradition. All right, so it looks like the issue is going to be on long-standing, and we're going to go specifically into 2 recent cases involving the indigenous use of sea otter pelts, which is a little sad because sea otters are cute. But all right, so let's go into sea otters. Hunting of sea otters was initially prohibited by the Fur Seal Act of 1910, not covered by the exemption according to the FWS were items produced from sea otter pelts, because Alaska natives had not produced such handicrafts within living memory. Okay, this makes sense. It's prohibited, and then something happens where they're now exempt, but Alaska natives still can't produce items from sea otter pelts because of tradition, because that's not part of their tradition. All right. In 1986, FWS agents seized articles of clothing made from sea otter pelts from Marina Katalnikov in Aleut. It defies common sense to define traditional in such a way that only those traditions that were exercised during a comparatively short period in history can qualify as traditional. So here we have this issue of pretty much exactly as I expected. You get this issue with long-standing because they're like, well, I don't know if it really qualifies as traditional, just because like they have to do it within living memory. So I get a really basic idea what this is about. So, which of the following most accurately expresses the main point of the passage? If I did this right, I should be able to answer this question already. And let's see. 2 cases involving the use of sea otter pelts by Alaska natives illustrate the difficulties surrounding the application of the legal concept of tradition in Alaska. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I mean, that is literally what I would have written myself. Tradition is complicated, and we can see that by the way that the law got super complicated with sea otter pelts. You look at the other one. 2 court traditions have challenged the notion that for an activity to be considered traditional, it must be shown to be a long-standing activity that has been No, that's too strong, right? We're just trying to illustrate the difficulties. As it says here, right? It's just we're trying to illustrate the problems. We're not challenging things. We're just illustrating the problems. So let's not go too strong with it must be shown. 2 court cases involving the use of sea otter pelts by Alaska natives exemplify the wave of lawsuits that are now occurring in response to changes in natural resource and public lands regulations. No, not even close. Not even close. All right. Definitions of certain legal terms long taken for granted. No, let's not get too vague here. We are talking about the legal concept of tradition. That's the point of the passage. Alaskan state laws and U.S. federal laws are being challenged by Alaska natives. Again, no, we're talking about the concept of tradition. We're not talking about this broad concept. All right, cool. On to number 2. The court in the 1991 case referred to the FWS's interpretation of the term traditional as strained, line 46, because in the court's view, the interpretation... I have no idea, because I didn't read that part. However, fortunately, they tell me exactly where I should go to read that part. Line 46. Alright, line 46. The court now held that the FWS's regulations were based on a strained interpretation of the word traditional, and that the reference to living memory imposed an excessively restrictive time frame. So the issue here is that the term living memory, it's too strict. The strained interpretation of the word traditional means that we've gone too far. We really should relax a little bit. So let's look at number 2. Ignored the ways in which Alaska natives have historically understood the term traditional. Not really. I mean, we're more talking about like the definition of traditional was not consonant with any dictionary definition of traditional. That seems all right. I mean, that's pretty strong, like saying any dictionary definition. So I'm not a huge fan of that. Because one of the rules of reading comprehension is if there is what I call like a dumb answer, if there's an answer which like sounds like someone's trying really hard not to be wrong, even if they don't care that they're right, that's the right answer. So we'll actually see it here with C. Was inconsistent with what the term traditional is normally understood to mean. So you see, this is literally like the same as B, right? You know, not consonant with any dictionary definition of traditional. So that's like the same as B, but it's just weaker, because instead of saying any dictionary definition, which means someone could find a dictionary somewhere and be like, oh wait, you're wrong, they just go weaker and they say, well, it's normally understood. This is like normally like tradition is weaker than that, and as we see in line 46, living memory is excessively restrictive. Or if you want to even go further than that, if you're not sure, we can go to the line we actually read, which is it defies common sense to define traditional in such a way that only those traditions that were exercised during a comparatively short period in history could qualify as traditional. So if you weren't sure on C, well, you already read the line that makes it clear. And led the FWS to use the word traditional to describe a practice that should not have been described as such. No, because we wanted them to use the word traditional more. Failed to specify which handicrafts qualified to be designated as traditional. No. So for 2, really, we went first of all for the weak answer. Traditional is normally understood to mean. And second of all, if we weren't sure, we could have just looked at a line we already read and found out, oh yeah, this is what it is. All right. Number 3. According to the passage, the court's decision in the 1991 case is based on which one of the following? The 1991 case. Oh, okay. So the 1991 case was the one where they're like, you're being too strict about the definition of traditional because you use in living memory, and really you should just relax a little bit. Let's see. Narrow interpretation of the term long-standing. No, because the court was like, you're too narrow. All right, common sense of interpretation of the phrase within living memory. No, I think they didn't like that phrase, right? Let's look. Yeah, reference to living memory imposed an excessively restrictive time phrase. So they didn't even like the phrase in living memory. They didn't want to interpret it. They wanted to just like kick it out. Strict adherence to the intent of FWS regulations. No, because the FWS were the people who were like, let's do in living memory. So they're not big on that. New interpretation of the First Seal Treaty of 1910. Maybe. Testimony establishing certain historical facts. Maybe, I don't know. Let me see something. Feel like we need a little more information. So where do we first talk about the 1991 case? Because that's going to really give us like this summary that we really need. So we get here, right? And that makes sense. We already know this. This is how the passage develops, where we get down to sea otters, and then we get down to court cases. So we get, boom. Then in 1991, Kotelnikov joined a similar suit brought by Boyd Dickinson, Tillinga, after hearing testimony establishing that Alaska natives had made many uses of sea otters before the occupation of the territory by Russia in the late 1700s. The court reconsidered what constituted a traditional item under the statute. Okay, that makes sense. So the testimony is like, actually, natives were using sea otters before the Russians. So we need to think about this. So it is E. So that was information we didn't know because we totally skipped over it. In fact, I didn't even realize that it wasn't Kotelnikov in both cases, but it was okay because I answered the questions without realizing that. All right, number 4. Passage most strongly suggests that the court in the 1986 case believed that traditional should be defined in a way that 1986 case, so not the 1991 case, 1986, did they lose that one? Let's see. 1986, FWS agents seized articles of clothing made from sea otter pelts by Marina Kelnikov. She sued, but the district court upheld the FWS regulations. Yeah. That's why they had the 1991 case, because they lost the 1986 case. All right, that makes a lot of sense. And so presumably they believe that traditional should be defined in terms of this in living memory sort of deal. Like, we have to remember this stuff happening in order for it to be defined as traditional. So compromise between the competing concerns surrounding the issue at hand. Nope. Emphasizes the continuity and regularity of practices to which the term is applied. Yeah, that makes sense. Because really what we're concerned with here is the whole idea of in living memory is that it keeps happening, and that's why it matters. Flex the term's usage in everyday discourse. Nope. Terms application to recently developed as well as age-old activities. Nope, the idea is it's traditional, right? It's supposed to be in living memory. You remember it happening. Concerns of the people engaging in what they consider to be traditional activities. Nope, because that's why Kotelnikov lost. Because she was like, it's traditional. And the FWS was like, no, it's not. All right. Number 5. Which of the following is most strongly suggested by the passage? So here is, as you might have imagined, I've done this passage before. And here is one of the most egregious examples of the dumb answer I have ever seen. So, which of the following is most strongly suggested by the passage? Between 1910 and 1972, Alaska natives were prohibited from hunting sea otters. So you look at this and you're like, I get where they get in 1910, right? Because 1910, Fur Seal Treaty. Let's see. 1972, Marine Mammal of 1972 continued the prohibition, but included an Alaska Native exemption, which allowed takings of protective animals for use in creating authentic native articles. And then they subsequently banned sea otters for those produced before 1972. So you're like, that doesn't seem right. It's unclear whether they were allowed to hunt sea otters after 1972 or not. So A doesn't seem right. And then you realize this is the dumbest thing I have ever seen. Between 1910 and 1972, Alaska natives were prohibited from hunting sea otters. Whether or not they were okay with hunting sea otters after 1972, it is undeniably true that they were definitely prohibited during these years. That is completely true. So it's not between 1910 and 1972 and not afterwards. It just says between 1910 and 1972. So as a dumb answer, this is completely correct. So it's dumb. It's completely avoiding any issues that are raised in the passage, but it is true. So let's see what's wrong with some of these other ones. So traditional items made from sea otter pelts were specifically mentioned in the Alaska Native exemption of the MMPA. No, because actually what we just read was the Alaska Native exemption was just sort of vague, and then the FWS was yeah, we're specifically saying no to sea otter pelts. Right? That's what we just read here, because the FWS they issued regulations defining these authentic native articles. All right, in the late 1700s, Russian hunters pressured the Russian government to bar Alaska natives from hunting sea otters. So this looks good, but this is too far, because you will not find Russian hunters anywhere. I mean, we saw the little bit with that testimony, right? That before the occupation of territory by Russia in late 1700s, but we don't know anything about Russian hunters. I'm imagining a shirtless Vladimir Putin, by the way. Russian hunters makes me think of that. All right. The sea otter population in Alaska returned to the levels. We have no idea. Prior to the late 1700s, sea otters were the marine animal most often hunted by Alaska natives. We have no idea. All right. The author's reference to the Fur Seal Treaty primarily serves to, we already know why he did that, right? That's the start of the ban on hunting sea otters had to do with the Fur Seal Treaty. So, earliest point at which fur seals were considered to be on the brink of extinction? No. Several animals in addition to sea otters were covered by various regulatory exemptions issued over the years? No. Demonstrate there is a well-known legal precedent? No. Sea otter population was imperiled by Russian seal hunters? No. Help explain the evolution of Alaska natives' legal rights with respect to handicrafts defined as traditional? Yeah. Because this is in our historical background paragraph, right? That's one of the advantages of reading first sentence, last sentence, is we know what purpose each paragraph has. And this is our official historical background paragraph, where we say this is what happened before the court case. So it's easy. All right. So number 7, ruling in the 1991 case would be most relevant as a precedent for deciding in a future case that which one of the following is a traditional Alaskan Native handicraft. I'm not... Okay, so the 1991 case was the one where they were like, well, your definition of tradition is too restrictive. The term and living memory is stupid. Like, well, what's the point of that? And like specifically they say it defies common sense to define traditional in such a way that only those traditions that were exercised a comparatively short period in history could qualify as traditional. And they say like the Russians banned them from hunting sea otters. That doesn't mean that it wasn't traditional to hunt sea otters. All right. So figuring out what's traditional Alaskan Native handicraft, no longer practiced but shown by archaeological evidence to have been common among indigenous peoples several millennia ago. I mean, I guess maybe, but like, it seems like it would be better if it was like they had been banned or something like that, rather than just like they gave up because it was boring. All right, B involves taking the pelts of more than one species that has been designated as endangered. No. Handicraft that was once common but was discontinued when herd animals necessary for its practice abandoned their local habitat due to industrial development. Yeah, this seems pretty good, right? Because like they had to stop doing it because like of industrial development. So that was like, you know, white people like came in and messed them up and then they couldn't do it anymore. So yeah, that seemed pretty good. Let's see. Only very few indigenous craftspeople were historically in possession of any knowledge. No. Young natives know little, while as once common, few elder Alaska natives still practice it. No. So like the best one here is the one that's like still the general idea, right? Like they were doing something and they liked it, and then white people came in and were like, stop it. All right. Whew. So that is 1 through 7. Good work, everybody. Way to go. Let's move on to our next passage. And here we get to read what is going on there. Yeah, let's try that one more time. All right. There we go. All right. So here we get to read some fun, literary criticism. And by fun, I mean not fun. But fortunately, we can do the same thing again. First sentence, last sentence. Get a basic idea of what's going on. So let's see what happens. So literary development of Kate Chopin, author of The Awakening, 1899, took her through several phases. 19th century women's fiction. Later, when she started writing her own fiction, Chopin took as her models. Man, I am not good at underlining, am I? All right. Chopin took as her models the works of a group of women writers known as the local colorists. Yeah, so this is the literary development of Kate Chopin. When she starts writing, she acts like a colorist. And I'm guessing they're going to be like, and then she was something else, and then something else, and then something else. All right, let's see. After 1865, what had been traditionally regarded as women's culture began to dissolve as women entered higher education, the professions, and the political world in greater numbers. In their stories, the garden became a paradisal sanctuary, the house became an emblem of female nurturing, and the artifacts of domesticity became virtual totemic objects. All right, so this is like basically like just talking about who the colorists were probably. Let's see. Unlike the local colorists, yep, this was like, this is what the colorists were like, and then this is going to be like, this is what Chopin was like. Maybe it's Chopin. Chopin devoted herself to telling stories of loneliness, isolation, and frustration. And frustration. By reporting narrative events as if they were part of a region's local color, Chopin could tell rather shocking or even melodramatic tales in an uninflected manner. So she was like, she took some of like the colorist techniques. I'm guessing that's the local color part of it, right? But like she was like weird. She like did some weird stuff. She told stories of loneliness, isolation, and frustration. Right? Chopin did not share the local colorist's growing nostalgia for the past, however. And by the 1890s, she was looking beyond them to the more ambitious models offered by a movement known as the New Women. So this is Chopin's like going beyond the colorist. Now she's a new woman. And finally, we get back to the Awakening. In the Awakening, Chopin embraced this impressionistic approach more fully to produce 39 numbered sections, faithfully rendering workings of the protagonist's mind. All right, I was getting bored by the end of that, but it doesn't really matter. Kate Chopin started off like sort of imitating the colorist, but she was a weird colorist. And then she went beyond the colorist to be like a new woman. And then she wrote The Awakening, which was like sort of like a new woman sort of work. All right. So number 8, summarize the content of the passage. Again, we should be able to answer this without having to go back. If we can't answer this without having to go back, we messed up. So although Chopin drew a great deal of material for The Awakening from the concerns of the New Women, she adapted them using the techniques of the local colorists. No, because it's about the development of Chopin. Let's get the idea of the development of Chopin. Avoiding the sentimental excesses of novels she read in her youth. I mean, I guess that might have happened. I don't know. I skipped over that part. Influenced first by the conventions of the local colorists, and then by the innovative methods of the New Women, Chopin developed the literary... Yeah, that seems good. Because she like develops, writes The Awakening. Colorist, New Women. Alright. Stylistic shifts, variety of content, and attention. Nope. We need to pay attention to the colorists. Like colorists, the New Women. In The Awakenings, Chopin rebelled against the stylistic restraint of the local colorists, choosing instead to tell our story. No, we want the development of Chopin. Because she felt a kinship with the subject matter, but not the stylistic conventions of the local colorists, Chopin turned to the New Women. Nope, again, we're talking about the development of Chopin, not just like how she felt. All right. 9. With which of the following statements about the local colorists would Chopin most likely to agree? Okay, so she was a weird colorist. She didn't totally go with them. And the reason was, okay, so first, loneliness, isolation, and frustration. And second, didn't share their nostalgia for the past. Right? Their idealization of settings and objects formerly associated with women's culture was misguided. Yeah, that seemed pretty good. That's like not sharing nostalgia for the past. Tendency to observe character dispassionately could cause their fiction to have little emotional impact. Wasn't that what Chopin was doing? Like, she wouldn't have agreed with that, right? Yeah. It was an uninflected manner. Yeah, so she was uninflected. So she liked that. Chief contribution to literature lay in their status as inspiration for the New Women. No, because we don't go anything about contribution to literature. Focus on regional life prevented them from addressing the new realms opening up to women. Nope. That's too far. I mean, like, maybe, but like, we definitely know Chopin didn't share their nostalgia. We don't know about her like literary criticism. Their conventions prevented them from portraying extreme psychological states with scientific detachment. No, because again, that's literally exactly what like Chopin was like copying from them. So that's like the opposite of what's correct. Whew. All right. According to the passage, which of the following conventions did Chopin adopt from other 19th century women writers? Let's see if we can. Elevated romantic language. I don't think so. Mythic images of women's culture. No, that was the stuff she disliked. Detached narrative stance. Yeah, because we literally just talked about that. Lonely, isolated protagonists were her own thing, and strong plot lines is presumably like too vague. Yeah, like we were literally just talking about how she was like, yeah, the colorists have the right thing going on with their detached narrative stance, where you act like you don't care about stuff. All right, number 11, as used in the author by in line 14 of the passage, women's culture most probably refers to a culture that was expressed primarily through women's. Line 14. After 1865, what had been traditionally regarded as women's culture began to dissolve. So women entered higher education, the professions, political world in greater numbers. So yeah, so like women are no longer just like housewives, and then they go into like being, other stuff, more important things. So so domestic experience. Women's culture was domestic experience. Duh. Nice. Yeah, and we don't need regional customs, artistic productions, no. All right, there we go. All right, the author of the passage describes the sentimental novels of the mid-19th century in lines 3 to 9, primarily in order to... I actually remember from this answer, she avoids sentimental excesses of novels she read in her youth. So she's like, no, I read that stuff, but I think it's dumb now. All right. So, mimic these novels, definitely not. Rejected the work, definitely not. Background against which Chopin's fiction developed, yes, because that's what she read in her youth. And then she was like, nope, I'm going to become a colorist. And then she was like, nope, I'm going to become a new woman. Illustrate the excesses to which Chopin believed nostalgic tendencies would lead, nope. Already flourishing, that's nope. All right, this is actually going pretty well. Normally these literary passages suck. All right, number 13. The passage suggests that one of the differences between the Awakening and the work of the New Women is that the Awakening, oh man, I thought the Awakening was the same as New Women style. Let's see. In the Awakening, Chopin embraced this impressionistic style more fully. New Women writers pursued freedom and observation, modified forms of sentimental novel, interludes of fantasy and parable, instead of the crispy plotted short stories, primary genre of the local colorists, experimented with impressionistic methods in an effort. In the Awakening, so the New Women experimented with impressionistic methods. In the Awakening, Chopin embraced it more fully. So like the New Women were like, let's experiment, and Chopin was like, no, I'm going all the way. I'm going all the way with Impressionism. So aspects of female consciousness, no. Dream world, yeah, I don't really know. Yeah, C is like right on the money, right? Like the difference is the New Women were experimenting with Impressionism, and like Chopin was like, this whole thing's going to be impressionistic. Fantasy suggests psychological states, maybe, but I don't really know. Like unity of style and content, like again, like I don't really know. You know, let's go for like the dumb easy answer. Like it's definitely true that she embraced it more fully. I know that from the passage. I'm not going to make any more assumptions about what was going on. All right, primary purpose of the passage is to, that seems like the same as number 8, but you know, I'm not gonna complain. All right, educate readers of The Awakening about aspects of Chopin's life that are reflected in the novel. Nope. Discuss the relationship between Chopin's artistic development, changes in 19th century women's fiction. Yeah, that seems pretty good. I mean, we get artistic development, and then we get like 19th century women's fiction. So that's presumably like new women and colorists and whatever. So that's pretty good. Let's see if there's anything else that's better. Trace the evolution of 19th century women's fiction using Chopin as a typical example. No, because we're talking about Chopin, not women's fiction. It's like Chopin is a big focus here. Counterclaim, Chopin's fiction was influenced by external social circumstances. Nope, because it definitely care about her artistic development. Weigh the value of her novels and stories against those of other writers of her time. Not even close. Alright, last one. We're cruising. It's going pretty well. Alright, number 15. The work of the new women, as characterized in the passage, gives the most support for which of the following generalizations? The new women wrote like fantasy stuff, like impressionist stuff. Let's see, works of fiction written in a passionate, engaged social style are more apt to affect changes in social customs. Okay, I don't know, but I definitely know we're not talking about social customs. Even writers who advocate social change end up regretting the change once it is occurred. No. Changes in social customs inevitably lead to changes in literary techniques as writers attempt to make sense of new social realities. I mean, like, I didn't see social customs, but they keep talking about it, and it's made me worried that I missed something. So I'm gonna check this one out. Innovations in fictional technique grow out of writers' attempts to describe aspects of reality that have been neglected in previous works. I mean, that also seems pretty good. Writers can most accurately depict extreme psychological states by using an uninflected manner. No, I mean, I don't know why they keep going back to that. No, the colorists were good at that. That was what they did. All right, let's go back though, because I don't really get. I guess my question is, were they trying to make sense of new social realities, or were they trying to describe aspects of reality that have been neglected in previous works? Let's see. In the form as well as the content of their work, the new women writers pursued freedom and innovation, modified the form of the sentimental novel to make room for interludes of fantasy and parable, especially episodes in which women dream of an entirely different world than the one they inhabit. Nothing so far. Instead, the crisply plotted short stories that had been the primary genre of the local colorists, new women writers experimented with impressionistic methods in an effort to explore hitherto unrecorded aspects of female consciousness. There we go. It's not like making sense of social changes. We're trying to explore unrecorded parts of the female consciousness. That seems pretty clear. Aspects of reality neglected in previous works. Boom. All right. Nice. We're doing well. We're making good time. It's a good life. All right. Onwards and upwards. And here we get a science passage. Yeah. Well, not so yeah. I don't love science passages. Even though this one, as in a lot of ones, end up being about my major. Because I was a geosciences major, and for some reason, there are a surprising amount of passages about geology. which gives me somewhat of an unfair advantage on the LSAT, but I'll make sure not to rely on my geology knowledge when I'm doing these passages. All right, so let's same old, first sentence, last sentence, all that jazz. Till the 1950s, most scientists believed that the geology of the ocean floor remained essentially unchanged for many millions of years. All right, and it's clear by the way they set this up that after the 1950s, they're like, nope, geology of the ocean floor has changed. Let's see. When magma cools to form solid basalt, the alignment of the magnetite grains is locked in, according to Earth's polarity at the time of cooling. Huh. I mean, I know what magma is, but I don't really get what the rest of this is about. Let's see if we can figure out more about this passage, because it seems like a pretty crazy jump to go from geology of the ocean floor unchanged to magma and magnetite grains. Let's see if we can make sense of this. As more of the ocean floor was mapped, the magnetic variations revealed recognizable patterns, particularly in the area around the other great oceanic discovery of the 1950s, the global mid-ocean ridge, an immense submarine mountain range that winds its way around the Earth, much like the seams of a baseball. Okay, I guess the reason why we talked about like magnetite and like magnetic grains is I guess there are patterns in the ocean floor from magnetic variations, and then we can see those patterns around the mid-ocean ridge, which is like a submarine mountain range. It's a mountain range under the ocean. Okay, all right. Okay, I get it. They're saying there are patterns in the ocean floor, and I guess that has something to do about how the geology is not unchanging. Over millions of years, this process called ocean floor spreading built the mid-ocean ridge. Okay, so it's making more sense now. So like we're saying that if the mid-ocean ridge was built over millions of years, so that's a reason why the geology is not unchanging, because you have like this giant mountain range being built under the ocean. This theory was supported by several lines of evidence. And here we're going to go for the old thing, and we have this massive sentence at the end here. So I'm just going to go, let's see. Am I going to have to read this whole sentence? Fine. Finally, because geophysicists had already determined the ages of continental rocks by measuring the magnetic orientation of these same rocks, had assigned ages to the Earth's recent magnetic reversals, able to compare these known ages of magnetic reversals. Oh my god. Let's get back to this. There's a remarkable correlation between the ages of the Earth's magnetic reversals and the striping pattern. Okay, so there's something about magnetic reversals and striping. I really am not entirely sure what's going on here. Well, really I am, because I studied geosciences and I had to learn about this stuff. But I mean, like, I'm not, because if I was a normal person who didn't take a useless major like geosciences, I wouldn't know about this. All right, let's see what happens. Main idea of the passage should be set on. If we're not, we messed up. 1950s refined their theories. Nah, because in the 1950s we're like, no, the geology of the ocean floor changed. We were so wrong. Basalt's magnetic properties in the 1950s led scientists to formulate, nope. 1950s, two significant discoveries led to the transformation of scientific views about the geology of the oceans. Yes, yeah. So one of those discoveries was something to do with like magma and like magnetite, and then the other one was the mid-ocean ridge. All right. Local distortions to compass readings are caused by magma that rises through weak zones in the ocean floor to create new oceanic crust. No. Discovery of the ocean floor's magnetic variation convinced scientists of the need to map the entire ocean floor. No, I mean that's useful information that it sort of didn't entirely get from the first read through. But all right. The author characterized the correlation mentioned in the last sentence of the passage as remarkable in order to suggest that the correlation, remarkable correlation between the ages of the Earth's magnetic reversals and the striping pattern. So presumably the striping pattern has a lot to do with the ages of the Earth's magnetic reversals. And well, I don't really know why that matters. Let's see. Ocean floor spreading occurs at extremely slow rate. Actually, why do we even have this paragraph? This theory was supported by several lines of evidence. What theory is this? Okay. Oh, that structurally weak zones, ocean ridge is being, all right, new magma. Over millions of years, this process called ocean floor spreading built the mid-ocean ridge. All right, so this theory about how the mid-ocean ridge was born from ocean floor spreading, this is why we're talking about this. This is what this paragraph is about. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so the correlation, I don't really get how it works quite yet, but the correlation has something to do with supporting the theory of ocean floor spreading. All right, which really the only one that goes for that is D, strong confirmation of ocean floor spreading theory. Like we're looking for evidence because it's remarkable correlation. It's super good evidence. Extremely slow rate, nope. Existence of the mid-ocean ridge, nope. Demonstrates, nope. Yeah, it's evidence. All right, cool. According to the passage, which one of the following is true of magnetite grains? Where do we even talk about magnetite grains? So this is magnetite. Yeah, this is basalt contains magnetite. Magnetite in it has the same, some basalt has normal polarity. Magnetite in it has same polarity, Earth's present magnetic field. This occurs because in magma, grains of magnetite align themselves with the Earth's magnetic field, which has reversed itself various times throughout history. All right, good, because this is actually the phrase grains of magnetite. I'm looking at magnetite grains here. So when magma cools to form solid basalt, the alignment of the magnetite grains is locked in, according to Earth's polarity at the time of cooling. So I feel like that's really good information, right? Because when I'm doing a word search to figure out what's true of magnetite grains, like my best information is something that either has magnetite grains or a close synonym. And grains of magnetite is a very close synonym to magnetite grains. I mean, of course. Youngest basalt, they're aligned with the Earth's current polarity. That seems right? Because like in magma, they align themselves with the Earth's magnetic field, and then when magma cools to form basalt, the alignment is locked in. So that seems right. Yeah. All right, A's good. B, in magma, most but not all of them align themselves with the Earth's magnetic field. I don't think so, because it says, yeah, it says here, like, in magma, grains of magnetite align themselves with the Earth's magnetic field. Definitely doesn't say most but not all. Nope. Not found in other types of rock besides basalt. That's not true. I mean, first of all, that's not mentioned. Second of all, I mean, if you've noticed that anything else is like magnetic, you know, All right, size of typical grains of sand, too small to be visible to the naked eye. I don't think either of those were mentioned. I don't think we ever mentioned how we can see magnetite grains. Plus, like, A is like really good, right? Because that's like the point. I'm beginning to realize that was sort of the point of all of this. Like, they get aligned with Earth's current polarity, so every time there's new basalt, you get like different polarity depending on the current polarity of the Earth. All right, nice. If the time intervals between the Earth's magnetic field reversals fluctuate greatly, then based on the passage, which of the following is most likely to be true? Let's see. So every time the magma cools, basalt is locked in. So we're gonna get like different. Yeah, so we're gonna get like different size like stripes, right? Because like the stripes are from how it's aligned. Yeah, I think I'm good. All right, let's see. Compass readings most likely to be distorted near the peaks of the mid-ocean ridge. No, this fluctuation that caused the ridge to wind, that's just like word jumble. Doesn't even have anything to do with anything. Some of the magnetic stripes of basalt on the ocean floor are much wider than others. Yeah, that would make sense because like we'd have like one long one where it was like a long time, and then it'd be like it reversed. And then it was a short time where all the basalt that was formed was like going to the left here, and then it quickly reversed back. So then we get another long time. So yeah, it totally makes sense. I don't know if my diagram makes sense, but I totally get what they're going for here. All right, continental rock is a more reliable indicator of Earth's magnetic field reversals than is oceanic rock. I don't think that's true. Within any given magnetic stripe on the ocean floor, the age of the basalt does not vary. I don't think, first of all, I don't think that's true. But like, second of all, that has nothing to do with like fluctuating greatly. Like the whole idea of it fluctuating greatly is like you have different time intervals. So like, why saying it does not vary wouldn't go along with that. All right. Number 20, which one of the following, if true, would most help to support the ocean floor spreading theory? Okay, so this was this paragraph. Let's see. I got rocks are younger, older from the crest. Youngest rocks have normal polarity and remarkable correlation. Age of the Earth's magnetic reversals and the striping pattern. All right, so yeah, let's see. What would be an additional piece of evidence there? Types of rock other than basalt known to distort compass readings. Nope. Ages of the Earth's magnetic reversals been verified by means other than examining magnetite grains in rock. Yeah, that seems good. I mean, that's additional evidence, right? Because we've got like this remarkable correlation between the ages of the Earth's magnetic reversals and the striping pattern. And it definitely would be a good thing if we knew more about the ages of the Earth's magnetic reversals. Like that would help our correlation. Additional evidence can't be bad. Pieces of basalt similar to the mid-ocean ridge been found on the continents. I don't think so. Along its length, the peak of the mid-ocean ridge varies greatly in height above the ocean floor. It doesn't seem, it's not even something I've thought about. Basalt is the only type of volcanic rock found. I don't think so. See, the problem with this is they throw all these science words at you. And they expect you to be like spending forever figuring out your science words. But like really, it's pretty straightforward stuff. Like they didn't go like super in depth on the science here. Like this is just like, it'd be good to have some other evidence besides the evidence we already have. This is, if it fluctuates greatly, other things should fluctuate greatly as well. Like the width of the magnetic strips. Like, they act like this is way more complicated science than it actually is. Like, they're not making you go that far into like the science side of it. They're pretending to be tougher than they actually are. All right, which of the following is most strongly supported by the passage? Let's see. Submarine basalt found near the continents likely to be some of the oldest rock on the ocean floor. Yeah, I think, didn't they say the stuff at the mid-ocean ridge was the youngest? I remember that. Let's see. Let's see. Mid-ocean ridge, new magma from, yeah, first at or near the ridge crest, the rocks are very young and they become progressively older away from the crest. I remember that. Okay. And that totally makes sense. So that does seem right, because like the further away from the mid-ocean ridge, presumably the furthest away from the mid-ocean is going to be at the continents, right? Far away from the ocean is the continents, yeah? So like, yeah, the oldest rock should be far away. Okay. Older a sample of basalt is, the more times it is reversed its polarity. No, because the polarity gets locked in. Compass readings are more likely to be distorted at sea than on land. That's not, no. Magnetic field surrounding magnetite grains gradually weaken over millions of years on the ocean floor. I don't remember anything like that. Any rock that exhibits present-day magnetic polarity was formed after the latest reversal of the Earth's magnetic field. No, right? Because it goes here, then here, here. So it could be after the latest reversal, or it could not be. So it doesn't have to be. So like, this is a hard passage. I mean, it sort of sucks. So like, the answers I have here, I think you could be reasonably confident about and keep going on. However, I totally get that if you weren't so confident and if you found yourself with extra time, you would go back and actually start reading things. And you might want to, you would want to read more of this. The problem is this is such a complex passage that like it's really hard to go beyond the level that I did and make total sense of what's going on here, especially if this is something you've never heard of. So this is a hard passage, but I think I tried to approximate not knowing anything about this, aka not having had to memorize this stuff for exams. And I think you guys see where I'm coming from. I'm mostly just doing like word matching here. Like, I'm not trying to deeply understand this so I can write a paper about it. I'm trying to just be like, I remember seeing something about old rocks and young rocks near the mid-ocean ridge. This makes sense. So yeah, I'm trying to make sure like you can do this without really getting the science behind it. You can do this without, you can answer a passage like this perfectly without being able to, you know, have it, without being able to, you know, be successful in geosciences. All right, last passage. Let's go. And we got passage A versus passage B. Yet another one. All right, last passage. And fortunately, we are away from science, and now we are on to history. So central to the historian's profession and scholarships have been the ideal of objectivity. So let's see, commitment to the reality of the past, sharp separation between fact value, distinction between history and fiction. So we're going to talk about how historians should try to be objective and be like, the past is real, Fact matters. History and fiction are two different things. All right, yeah. Historical facts are prior to and independent of interpretation. Facts are different from interpretation. All right. Fact that successive generations of historians, past events, lack. All right, basically, be objective. Facts matter. Objective historians see their role as a neutral judge, one who must never become an advocate or worse, propagandist. So it's still more things. They're really not saying new things here. They're just like, you should still try to be objective. Don't do one view over the other. Don't have values, just facts. Objective historians must purge themselves of external loyalties. So again, to the facts, not to your opinions or feelings about things. Yeah, pretty easy. B. Okay, let's see what this one says. Very possibility of historical scholarship as an enterprise distinct from propaganda. So it sounds like we're starting off pretty similar. Requires of its practitioners self-discipline, enables them to do such things as abandon wishful thinking. Assimilate. So again, they're like, historians should be objective and not be wishful or want certain things to happen or assimilate bad news. Now we're getting complicated. Yet objectivity for the historian should not be confused with neutrality. Well, I don't really get what they mean by that. Let's see. Those so habituated to their customary intellectual abode could not even explore others, could never be persuasive to anyone but fellow habitués. I guess like the idea is like, sounds like you should be objective, but you should still have like opinions, but you should know about other people's opinions too. Let's see, such arguments are often more faithful to the complexity of historical interpretation than texts that abjure position taking altogether. I guess they're saying like it's better because history is complex, so you should still have opinions, but you should also be objective. I feel like it doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, I mean, that is what he's saying. Let's see. Authentic objectivity bears no resemblance to the television newscaster mechanical gesture of allocating the same number of seconds to both sides of a question. Okay, so I guess he's saying like there's a difference between being like objective, like, and like saying everyone has like an equal right to their opinion. Instead, I guess you should know everyone's opinions. Yeah, something like that. So A is just like just the facts, and B is like know everybody's opinions. But like don't be like a newscaster who okay, whatever. 22. What are the most serious flaws found in recent historical scholarship? No. What must historians do in order to avoid bias in their scholarship? Yeah, it seems pretty good. Like, A is like, be objective, only look at the facts. And B is like, know everybody's opinions. How did the ideal of objectivity first develop? Nope, definitely not a history passage. Is the scholarship produced by relativist historians sound? Nope, because we're not examining their scholarship. And why do they change from one era to the next? That has nothing to do with anything. I don't even know where that answer came from. All right, whew. Both passages identify which of the following as a requirement for historical research. Let's see. Presumably it's like be like look at the facts, because like A is like only facts and B is like facts matter. All right. Methods of analysis from other disciplines. I don't think we had anything about other disciplines. Employ methodologies favored by proponents of competing views. I feel like maybe B was a fan of that, but A definitely wasn't, because A was like, only the facts exist. And we're looking for both passages. So no. Willingness to relinquish favorite interpretations in light of the discovery of facts inconsistent with them. Yeah, that seems pretty good, because we're like, right? Because like even B like started off by saying like, we do have to abandon wishful thinking, assimilate bad news, and discard pleasing interpretations. And then he was like, but also have opinions. So I guess no one is ever going to come down on the side of like, don't like hold your interpretations, like even if the facts are disagreeing with them. All right, willingness to answer in detail all possible objections. I don't think that has anything to do with what we were talking about. Willingness to accord respectful consideration to rival interpretations. No, because like A would be like, that doesn't even exist. And B was like, don't be like a newscaster. So I think they both dislike that. So yeah, it's right. It's definitely favored interpretations. You should give them up. All right, 24. Let's see. The author of passage B and the kind of objective historian described in passage A would most likely to disagree over whether detachment aids the historian in aiding an objective view of past events. Yeah, maybe. Because like I feel like A would be like, yeah, detachment, and B would be like, I don't know. All right. Let's see, B, an objective historical account can include a strong political commitment. Yeah, again, this seems pretty good, because, like, A is like, no, have no feelings, and B is like, no, you can have opinions. C, historians today are less subjective than they were previously. I don't think anyone talks about historians today versus they used to be. Propaganda is an essential tool of historical scholarship. That's definitely not true. They're both like, don't be propagandists. Historians of different eras have arrived at differing interpretations of same historical events. That's just obviously true. So I don't know, it's either A or B. So I feel like the question is, I know A is definitely going to be like, yeah, detachment. I wonder if B is a fan of detachment too. So B is, they need to abandon wishful thinking, assimilate bad news, discard pleasing interpretations. Objectivity is perfectly compatible with strong political commitment. The objective thinker does not value detachment as an end in itself, but only as an indispensable means of achieving deeper understanding. Oh, okay. So B is like, yeah, detachment, but like use it. And then, but he's also like, you need a strong political commitment. Like he literally says it, right? He says, objectivity is perfectly compatible with strong political commitment. Literally says it right there. All right, almost done. 25. Attitude towards objectivity present in each passage. So both are like, yay, objectivity, it's great. A, objectivity is a goal few historians can claim to achieve. We don't talk about other historians. Essential to the practice of historical scholarship. Yep, both are like, objectivity is great. And then they completely disagree over what objectivity means, which takes away the point of saying objectivity is great. But objectivity cannot be achieved unless historians set aside political allegiances. No, because B is like, yeah, political allegiances. Historians are not good judges of their own objectivity. Nope. Historians who value objectivity are becoming less common. Nope. All right. Almost done. 26. Both passages mention propaganda in order to, well, both passages are like, don't be a propagandist. So refute a claim made by proponents of a rival approach to historical scholarship. Nope. Suggests that scholars in fields other than history tend to be more biased than historians. Nope. I don't think propaganda is a field. Type of scholarship recently been discredited. Again, propaganda is not a type of scholarship. Nope. Identify one extreme to which historians may tend. That seems pretty good, right? Draw contrasts with other kinds of persuasive writing. I mean, like, I feel like persuasive writing is a weird way of describing propaganda. let's make sure. Let's just look where they say propaganda, because I feel like it is identify one extreme. Where does oh man, what just happened there? All right. Where does this, okay. One who must never become an advocate or worse, propagandist. Okay, so like A is like never be a propagandist. And B is like enterprise distinct from propaganda. So this is like make history different from propaganda. And A is like don't be propagandist. So either way, they're like historians can be propagandists, so you need to watch out for that. So D seems good. And they're definitely using propaganda as like a pejorative, right? It's like it's not something like this is a legitimate choice in terms of your feelings. It's like, you know, don't be a propagandist. All right, 27, argument described in passage A and the argument made by the author of passage B, both advanced by citing historical scholarship that fails to achieve objectivity. No, that never happened. Recent developments in historical scholarship have undermined the credibility of the profession. No, because A is just like, don't be opinionated. Yeah, facts. Summarizing opposing arguments in order to point out their flaws. Nope, A does not do that. Historians should adopt standards used by professionals in certain other fields. Nope. Identifying what are seen as obstacles to achieving objectivity. Yeah, exactly. Because A is like, just like, yeah, facts. And like B is like, don't be a newscaster. Whew, all right. Then we're done. And that is that. Hope this was helpful. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. And yeah, so if you have bought volume 2, which presumably you have if you're watching this, of course you can, I'll be doing another one next week. I'll probably do it at a different time because it looks like looks like most people aren't awake at this time. In retrospect, I realized that if you're on the Pacific coast, 10 a.m. is 7 a.m. and 7 a.m. is not a time at which college students are up. Well, that was my fault. That was a logical error. If you enjoyed this class, please send like positive comments to my email, so I can like compile them and like basically use them to be like, hey, I'm not some sketchy like scam artist. Like I produce good work. Like I'm just gonna use like your first name, last initial, so you don't have to worry about randos friending you on Facebook. But I really would appreciate if you'd send positive comments to my email so I can use them to prove to people that people like my stuff. And so more people can buy it, and so I can keep doing it, because I'm still working on making this thing financially viable, because it's a little difficult. So yeah, and then yeah, also you can send, you know, criticism or how about helpful suggestions. And yeah, I'll see you next week, where we'll probably be covering logical reasoning. So thank you very much for listening. Is that really how I spelled or? Or. All right. So send positive comments or suggestions to Trevor@trevorcleatutor.com. I'll see you next week. Thank you very much for listening, and bye-bye.